Hello, my friends. Welcome to the metal shop. Big box in the metal shop since we were last here. Quick jacks. Have the factory 5 quick jacks completely set up with complete hardware, ready to go. I need to think of a price for them. I have to see how much factory 5 sells them for. These are used. Factor in a little bit of shipping. Like I said, I'm going to practically give them away, but quick jacks are available, and I will do some links and some stuff on that. Anyway, so last video I alluded to when I put that Cobra intake plaque on that I had plans in mind for this intake here. Now, a little bit of background on me. I'm a Foxbody Mustang guy. Since back in the day, I drove my first Foxbody Mustang in 1988, a brand new 87, 88 Mustang GT. A teacher of mine had it and used to let me drive it. Big mistake. A friend of mine had a 84, 85 Mustang GT. Anyway, big time Foxbody Mustang guy since way, way back. Those intakes, I do not like. I don't like the way they look. I don't like the way they flow. It's not a good intake. It was good enough. 225 horsepower was a lot to move a little car, but they've made much, much better ones, so much better than that for our car. So I'm going to embrace the full fuel injected vibe that we have going here. Instead of what I'd like to do is I'd like to put a turkey pan and a proper fuel injection kit that looks like a carburetor, a Holley Sniper. That's what I'd really like to do, but we're talking a couple of grand in parts versus, upgrading the rocker covers, the heads, the valve covers. Thank you. Whoa! Upgrading the valve covers, and we're going to upgrade the fuel injected intake manifold. So, big box. Showed you these guys yesterday, the valve covers from Tony Branda, Cobra powered by Ford, and I believe that I'm going to leave those natural. That's the way they came on the 260, 289 cars. They came just like that. I think I'm going to leave them like that. So, what did I pick up for an intake? Well, the best intake for these cars is the Ford GT40, the tubular intake. That, back in the day, that one flowed the best out of every intake manifold shootout, the best flowing intake manifold across the board from low end torque to high end power was the tubular GT40 intake. You guys know the one I'm talking about. Maybe I'll even insert a pic right here. And I mean the ones, the Holley Systemax that was the old the Celine Vortec intake, like the one I have on my Mustang, the predecessors, the Dixon intakes, those flowed fantastic, but they made a lot of horsepower in the top end, not so much in the low end torque. Because they flowed a lot of air. The GT40 tubular intake was by far the best all around intake. So I would like to run a Dixon intake. I don't have a spare $2,500. Even the GT40 intakes, the tubular ones, cheap ones, $1,000 now. Back in the day, I think those were like $699 or $799 right from Ford Racing. Boy, the worm has turned on those. Those things, $1,000 now, $1,500, $2,000 for a nice tubular intake. That looks nice. And they have a really nice finned Cobra intake plaque on the top of them that you can get. That's really nice. But there are less expensive options available. So number one, GT40 tubular intake. Then we have the Cobra intakes, the one that was on the 93 Cobra, which is the same intake as the tubular, but it's a cast piece. Even those are pretty big money. If you find an original Cobra one or the Ford Racing one, now beware, they made some reproductions. They're not available new anymore, but there's some Chinese reproductions out there that probably aren't anywhere near as good, probably don't flow as good as the actual Ford Racing pieces. But there's one more, and you guys know probably now by process of elimination which one that is. And it's the most economical option for the most power, and that is the Explorer GT40 intake. It is the same intake as the Cobra intake, the same as the tubular intake. Again, it's a cast piece. but it flows. It's exactly the same on the inside as those two pieces. And these can be picked up relatively cheaply. Probably a good deal is $250 for an upper and a lower. I've seen them more expensive than that, you know, $400, $500, $600 for a good upper and a lower. I bought one on eBay for $225, and the loser hits me with, I test positive, I can't ship. I'm like, forever? Are you dead? Anyway, so I found this one on Facebook Marketplace, $100 plus shipping. And it's a complete Explorer GT40 intake. And it's a little rough, and that's okay. It's a project. I'm gonna clean this thing up. I'm gonna make it look appear the same. I want it as an as cast look. So I want it to look just like this, only obviously super nice and super clean. So, all right, let's see if we can get this out of the way. Pretty big and heavy piece here, so I can show you. I'm gonna take a bunch of pictures here of the upper intake and all of the vacuum lines and so on, just for routing. One thing that you need to know, if you're planning on running the Explorer intake on your Foxbody Mustang, you need to get one that has EGR, okay? And it's pretty easy to tell which intake has the EGR port in it because it's right there. The non-EGR won't have this, and the underside of the intake will actually have, if I can flip this over here, we'll have a void right here. This casting is just completely left out of it. You have the 4 ports, an empty space here, 4 more ports. It won't have the EGR. Again, so you want to run this on a Foxbody Mustang, you need the EGR, and it's also nice to have this PCV. Some of these intakes don't have this PCV port here in the back. Now I already pulled the injectors off. This obviously came from a junkyard. Only a junkyard would do this. Cut your wiring harness like this. And these, I believe, this color, this orange, pale yellow color, whatever you want to call it, these are 19-pound injectors, and I already pulled these off. So, and I believe there are only 7 of them. I have 8 19-pound injectors already on the car. I have 8 19-pound injectors for my Foxbody Mustang when I upped it to 30-pound injectors. So anyway, that's the intake that we're going to be running. Nice little project. So I'm going to start stripping this stuff off. Just hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad just for now. Maybe peel some of these stickers off it. Good deal. The guy I bought it from, nice guy. $100, I paid $50 for shipping. $150. That is a great deal. Probably you go on eBay or somewhere else, it's $300 minimum for the upper and the lower together. One other thing so you guys notice, I painted the wheels. These are the regular torque thrust, American Racing torque thrust wheels. I did paint them gold. That's a BBS gold color. And I bought the American Racing center caps, the knockoffs. They call them Carlisle knockoff caps. Those are really nice, heavy-duty billet pieces. I picked up the Shelby, kind of the Cloisonne. It's like a domed logo there for the center. I picked those off Etsy, out of the country because of copyright reasons. They can't be sold, can't be reproduced in the United States. I need new lugs. Those are a little bit rusty. But yeah, so I'm kind of embracing, these aren't the wheels I want to run. You guys know I want to run Halibrands. But again, $3,000 plus for the Halibrands. So I'm going to embrace these for the time being. I really like the gold. Those center caps were $1.25 a piece. They're nice. They are nice pieces, but basically they cost the wheel. One of those torque thrust wheels is like $140. Those center caps are $125. Kind of nuts. I put anti-seize on all the bolts, all the little Allen bolts that hold it in place, and there's a little set screw I put on there. Oh, I scuffed these down with a Scotch-Brite pad. They were really nice and bright and shiny. I didn't like the way they looked. I kind of wanted an as-cast look, so I scuffed those down with a Scotch-Brite pad. Scotch-Brite pad. Chrome won't get you home in this case. So, rejoin me in a little bit. I'm going to start pulling stuff off the old Ford Explorer intake manifold. Awesome. All right, so continuing work on the Explorer intake. I did misspeak a little bit here on the first part about the flow. They're not exactly the same. The tubular flows, it's negligible. It's like 2 to 3 CFM more than the Cobra and the GT40. They're the Explorer intakes. Now the Cobra and the GT40 are identical. And basically what Ford did was they were stuffing the 5-liter V8 into the Explorer. They needed an intake manifold to make more power, so they borrowed the schematics there, the CAD for the Cobra, and came up with this intake. So they're identical. The lowers for all three are identical. Anyway, so I cut this little wart off here. That was for mounting I think it's the throttle cables actually. It's just horrible looking. Some of the early ones don't have this. I cut that off. I used a Dremel and been sanding it a little bit just to kind of get it nice and flush there. That'll look fine. You can see some of the paint's been flaking off. Like I said, this is going to go out and be sandblasted and powder coated. Plenty of vacuum ports on this. We flip this up to accomplish what you need to. They're not quite as convenient as the standard Foxbody, which has a screw-in tree with a bunch of different vacuum ports. This has, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and this is some kind of weird. This is an early '97. This is a weird EGR with these 2 extra vacuum ports on that I'm not even sure. Can you see that? Not even sure what they're for, really. And it's a better look at it. Those will get plugged. That'll be EGR. You got here, you got 2 here. I mean, yeah, anyway. So, you notice over here on the drill press, we've got to drill out here for the coolant pass that goes through your throttle body. We've got to drill out here for the ACT, or the air charge temperature unit. So these get drilled out up to a 9/16, then 3/8 NPT tap. Lots of good videos on YouTube about that. I am also going to drill this one here because I'm going to run a secondary switch here for the fan that I don't have. This one here is for the coolant, the temperature gauge in the car already. So I have to drill 1, 2, and 3 here. That's why it's up on the drill press. I can drill these 2 nice flat ones with the drill press. I have to drill that one with the hand drill, being on an angle. I'm gonna get that going on. Cool. All right, so you can join me here in progress. We've got the rear holes drilled and tapped. This hole is just drilled, still needs to be tapped. So those 2 I did on the drill press because they're nice and flat. And that one, what I did was, and here, I got to give a shout out to, check out a video by Junkyard Dogs, D-O-G-G-S. He does this modification, he puts the GT40 intake in his Mustang. He does an excellent video. I watched his to get tips. So what he did is he put his intake up against the back of his workbench so he really could drive it. I have too much junk here, so I brought it over here. I put it on that floor mat up against the door to drill that hole. And the key really is just very gradually step up your sizes to the 9/16 that you need. You can use a little bit of cutting fluid. I just use sharp drill bits, and set your torque to give a little bit. Junkyard Dogs goes over that. Set your torque. Don't set it to drill, because then it's like, that's like 1-to-1 and it's full torque. I left it on, 14, 15 so that it will, it'll snap at you and you can back it off and keep going there. The large drill bit does tend to want to walk on you a little bit in the hole. Now tapping, pretty easy. The aluminum is soft. I have a fresh 3/8 NPT tap, and look, you are removing a lot of material. The only thing I did different, I like to pack the flutes here with grease just to catch the shavings there. And another tip, that I got from Junkyard Dogs is the first few threads, the first few cutting threads, they're not really even threads. So you're not pounding this in, you're just kind of setting it. You're just tapping it. And instead of using a handle, use a 5/8 inch drive. I'm not gonna be able to do this. Of course, I picked up a bunch of junk with one hand. it's a nice clean tap. It cuts like it cuts through butter. It's like a hot knife through butter. It's really not difficult. You take your time. Again, I like to use the grease, catch the shavings. You kind of get a cleaner cut. It's a little bit easier that way. So I'm gonna get this going on. All right, so I got that set, and really this is the most difficult one, and only because the aluminum is thicker here. It's twice as thick as it is for the holes here in the back going into the intake runner. So this is by far the hardest one to drill on the angle, and it's going to be the hardest one to tap. You're going to need the most amount of torque here, but you can see this is just, you know, it's nice and centering. It's just like a hot knife through butter. It really is a nice, fresh, sharp tap and soft aluminum. Boring. Let me get this and see it. All right, so all drilled and tapped. I've tested them out with the proper fittings, and don't forget these are going to get Teflon tape, or I like to use actual thread sealant on all of these. The only difference really, the nice factory hole has a tiny little chamfer, and I suppose I could put that in. I don't really care to. I've tested out all of the holes and they fit nice and snug, just like the factory one. So these are going to go off to the powder coaters. They're going to get sandblasted and powder coated. Just that natural aluminum finish, the silver, like this was painted originally. You can see here on the intake runner, that's the original color, and that's what I'm going with, just so it looks natural. So it's going to be a few weeks. These are going to go off and get beautified and come back, and I will see you then. So, as always, my friends, thanks for watching. Truly appreciate the support and the view. Give me the thumbs up, please. Hit the little subscribe and hit the little bell. Get notifications of all my videos. I'm constantly cranking out content. I'm trying a couple of months, something like that. You know, I still work full time. I'm not a professional YouTuber by any stretch of the imagination. So this has been fitting the Explorer intake and modifying the GT40 Cobra Explorer intake to fit on my Cobra. So, like I said, thanks for the watch, thanks for the view, thanks for the thumbs up, thanks for clicking that bell and subscribing, and telling your friends about my channel. All right, my friends, take care. Cobra. Wacha.